So I'm not sure if you guys know, but I actually do test standard decks with my friends. And recently I've been moving on to testing, well, we've been doing this all the time, but I've been doing it on stream. We've been testing unreleased decks on stream. So basically the future sets that haven't come out yet, we've been just playing with that and seeing how it goes. And here in this video, I just like to compile all the results and my thoughts after some testing on how the decks are performing on what we actually tested on. Now, some of the decks right now would have already been released in Japan, like the Shiranuis and the Thavises, but I'll still give my thoughts on it because it hasn't been released in English and it's still technically testing things that haven't really been released, at least in English, right? So first of all, let's start off with the latest testing I did, and that was for Gabriel, because Gabriel got released last week and basically everyone was just talking about it. Now, Gabriel, my initial impressions was not very good. I was just saying how it was like a 2018 card in like 2020, only 3 attacks to protect. What are we doing? A lot of people did say it was like a bad Sasano, but it's actually pretty decent. It's like playing set 1 Angel Feathers, but accelerated into the current format. So it means there's a lot of damage dying. You have hospitals. Your hospital now goes off first turn, etc. So with a deck, if you want to look at the deck that I built, with all these decks, I'd like to say they're very unoptimized unless I looked at another list and just tried that one out. But they're all very unoptimized. This one was just a lot of them are just basically just chuck in all the new cards and see how they work. This one I just ran 12 crit Angel Feather because I wanted to see how, you know, I guess checking some crits and putting them on a guard restrict card is pretty good. And yeah, sometimes it's pretty good. You can just kill your opponent when you ride grade 3. They somehow gave you 3 damage accidentally. You know, they critted you. So, or they just don't respect your Hamiel. They go, okay, I would just want to. Can you actually 1-6 me? And you can. You can just trigger some crits and win, right? So, basically, Hamiel carries the entire deck. The 12 crits again are there for like you want to check them at least like 1 or 2 a turn if you're able to from your like multitude of drive checks or just damage checks that you get. If you get like 1 or 2, you're basically doing like 4 damage of a Hamiel, and you can like damage deny them. And it's kind of reminiscent of old Angel Feather, but now you can kind of accelerate the game plan and keep them low at key points in the game and really screw them over. And how many Hamiels can they actually hard guard? There's not much they can. So overall, it's actually a pretty interesting deck. I think it's if we remove Luard from the equation, it's like a tier 2 deck probably. We tested against a bunch of protects, I guess, and like because it's a protect deck, so you want to see where on the protect scale it is, and it beats quite a lot of them. So pretty good against Excel decks. Oh, it's not really about Excel or Force. It's basically around, can your opponent deal with playing with no damage? And most of the time it's no, or a lot of the times it's no. If they can, then it's a bit harder, but you know, if they can't, then you basically can control the entire game flow and how it goes, and that's a pretty strong thing when it comes to Vanguard, at least in standard. So overall, Gabriel, nice thumbs up for me. I actually do quite like it. I do like playing lame and boring decks, and this is kind of one of those lame and boring decks. Check crits with the game, right? So moving on, we have Eradicators. Unfortunately, I just say this deck is not very good. This is actually the 2018 card in 2020. So Descendant is kind of this deck that like doesn't do anything except for like 1 turn where it rides over a gauntlet, and then suddenly if your opponent is just not prepared for it, you can win. But if they do, which they mostly are, because you telegraph that you're riding a gauntlet, then nothing really goes on. And then if you play against the Force deck, you just feel bad, nothing really hits any numbers, hit like a wet noodle all the time, etc, etc. Eradicators is just not very good. Now you can say that Eradicators is a budget deck, but that doesn't really excuse it from just being bad. So like Blouse is a budget deck, and I mean I didn't test Blouse, but I heard it's pretty good. But there are other budget decks that do work pretty well, and Eradicators isn't. A Descendant isn't. Now, with Descendant's effect, maybe in the future, if they release more good Eradicators, then Descendant will become better. But right now, don't waste your money, guys. But talking about good budget decks, right? Like No Seal. No Seal is technically the budget deck for Angel Feather. And when I tested that one out, I found that I ran into a lot of soul problems where you just are basically 1 soul short from doing like a strong combo. Now, in terms of that, when I tested that deck, we didn't have any scaling Angel. And that card basically changes the entire paradigm for Angel Feathers. It just makes everything work. We only had the PR Angel Feather at the time, so like you had to run it. But now if you have scaling Angels, plus if you want to add more soul with the PR, then we have a lot of good options for No Seal, and I can definitely revisit that and see how good it is. But I do think it has potential. Whether it is better than Gabriel, I don't know. But it's definitely a totally different playstyle as well. Big multi-attacks, but much more setup required. But overall, like, all the cards in it, you don't really... It's not like a VR. So I think there is still quite a lot of potential there. Genesis. Now, Genesis, I've only tested Eos Anesis Dragon, the Valkyrian build. I haven't tested Fenrir just because... Not very interested in... Just, I'll be frank, I'm not very interested in Fenrir. But the... Valkyrian build is actually pretty good. I do like it gives the deck a lot of flavor, although at the same time the deck is still very linear. You're still playing the same game plan. Check crits with Valkyrian and restand it. If your opponent doesn't have nulls, you win the game. That's basically it. Now you just have more defensive options and more survivability. We can test it more, but I do think it's already like at a pretty good place. I don't know where you're gonna sit in the tier ladder, but I do think it's like pretty good. So yeah, if you're into Valkyrian, then you can rest assured that it's definitely looking good, right? It's not like it's not disappointing. Gerg. So I'll be the first to say my Gerg deck is not optimized. I've basically been trying a lot of the new stuff, but even with an unoptimized build, I can safely say that this deck is very, very strong. Okay, just the guard effect, the power pump effect, all of that works. It's like this really neat package where a lot of people were just wondering, okay, maybe there'll be counterblast issues, but now there's so many ways to countercharge in Gerg. It just seems like it's already going to be a very strong... I know a lot of people have been saying it's like, oh, it's going to be tier 1, and it probably is. It probably will be. So I think Gerg, yes, if you like Gold Paladin, Gerg's going to take you there, alright, take you to tier 1. We also tested Shiranui. At first I said it was clunky. Saw some lists. One of them topped, I think, VMC, right? Or VMC or WGP. And I tested out, and it's actually really, really good. Okay, the PR that searches and gives token power, it makes the entire deck work. Don't underestimate how important token power is, because your Mask of Domination hits for 12k or 13k depending on the grade 3 that your opponent you copy, right? But that is a very, very easy guard to do, right? They just throw one card and they basically guard. Now there are also situations where you don't get to copy a grade 3, or there's like a specific target you actually want to bind, and that might not be a grade 3. So if you bind that without token power, you're hitting for nothing, and that is just a waste of time. Giving base token power on a boost that also searches for a Shiranui is actually insane. And being like with a Nubatama deck, you can usually bounce cards that you just want to use again. You can keep on bouncing that to search, or you can just like bounce other more important cards. So that PR by itself can carry the entire clan. And the other, it's just so important that your first grade 3, you have your Shiranui, and then you have the Shiranui that goes to Soul. You want 2 of them, right? Ideally, because you stride, and then you put another one into Soul to create those 2 grade 3s, and then you can start popping off that Domination, heavy Vanguard swings, etc. If you don't get that, then it's bad. So again, the PR is just carrying this entire deck. Now, we don't know if we're going to get the PR before clan selection, and I think we're not going to get it before clan selection. So when Shiranui gets released, I feel like it just won't be as strong as it would be, just because it doesn't have the PR. And that's it. Another deck we tested in that was Thavis. I thought Thavis was not very... It was like average. Right? It was average. It was not amazing. It was not terrible. I definitely knew what changes I wanted to do with that deck. But after doing that changes, I don't think I would like playing the deck overall. But I think if you like Aqua Forest, then yeah, sure, go for Thavis. It should be fine. Go for Maelstrom if you want. So yeah, there's a lot of... It's there. That's all I'm going to say. It's there. I don't have fun playing it, so I'm probably not going to look into it too much. I might just do the changes and do some more tests, and that's about it. Otherwise, yeah, that's basically it for me. Isabelle. So, Great Nature. We tested both builds of Great Nature. First, we tested Big Belly, and it wasn't very great. All right, yeah. In standard Big Belly, you draw a bunch of cards. But at the same time, you use a lot of cards. And overall, your columns don't really hit for that much. And sure, you get a lot of multi-attacks, but you suffer from, Excel problems, right? Which is just... They're putting it to trigger, and you just get screwed. And reaching success, 20k, sounds easy, but if you want to pull off the entire restand, it's not as easy as it thinks. All right, you have to do commits of resources. So basically, you're not gaining resources. You're not really gaining that much, and overall, you have to commit field as well from your hand. So you just get screwed over. Now, Isabelle, on the other hand, is pretty crazy. So people thought Isabelle was going to be trash. It's actually pretty good. You can make pretty big columns of Sentinel Restrict, man. That's just it, right? Big columns of Sentinel Restrict, and yeah. You're done, right? It's just good. It's just good. So, things get, like, because Isabelle can double pump something, and then Monoculous Tiger does his mojo, do 12 crits as well and just slam face. I think it's actually a pretty decent deck. You got a lot of pressure with all the tigers that like draw and retire and stuff as well. So Isabelle is actually pretty decent. Don't underestimate Isabelle. And talking about the good Narukamis, we have full Bronto. All right, full Bronto is basically when you give a relatively tier 1 deck at its time a restander, and you basically have another tier 1 deck. Right, Vanquisher dropped off because sure, you know, there's like a lot of good decks came out at the same time, but now full Bronto just gives you an extra Excel circle. It just gives you another attack, another restand. So yeah, like I don't want to say, it's really good. It's really good. You draw a lot of cards as well. Just Vanquisher naturally just does get quite a lot of cards somehow, right? Because everything just goes to soul and draws. Everything is like just draw call, but you call something, draw bind, right? But the bind isn't actually a bind because it calls out. So you naturally like accrue quite a bit of hand anyway, and with full Bronto just giving like a free restand or free reride, it's plus an Excel 2. It's yeah. So full Bronto is definitely another tier 1. So overall, set 12 is looking to be very, very good. Even the downers, like what we thought would be downers was Gabriel. Turns out it wasn't. I haven't tested Fenrir. Maybe someone wants to throw a list, and I'll give that a test and just see, just kind of round out all the VRs that we haven't seen yet, and just round out the entire set and see how it is. But set 12 is looking to be really, really good. So I give set 12 like a 3 thumbs up, but I don't have 3 thumbs. So just imagine the last imaginary thumb, right? Imaginary thumb. Yeah. So let me know in the comments below what you think of pretty much all the testings that I did. Whether you agree or not, what you want to see tested, and what you want to see, maybe just your thoughts, you know, in general on the set itself. All right, so that's it from me. I will see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys. Bye.